You can't win them all. Sometimes a compelling TV character never reaches the heights they should have simply because they've been confined to a show that leaves people asking where they left the remote. The acting is on point, the character concept is engaging, and yet the writer's inability to take their thumb out and actually put everything together means it's all for nothing. The horror genre is no stranger to disappointing content. While the silver screen has been chock full of cheap slasher and gorno flicks that have degraded horror's reputation, the genre's also had some misfortune on the small screen as well. Some shows arrive with a gripping presence, intriguing viewers with the scares they appear to be promising, only for the finished product to completely fail to live up to its own hype and potential. And among the many consequences of such failure is the total letdown that strikes any good characters the series in question had. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for What Culture, and here are 10 great characters wasted on terrible horror TV shows. Number 10. Sasha Yazzie, Chambers. Heart transplant horror takes center stage in this imaginative but ultimately flat effort from Netflix. Viewers are introduced to Sasha Yazzie, who finds herself in turmoil due to dark visions following a heart switcheroo. Not only do the visions keep coming up more and more frequently, they also become increasingly grim. Needless to say, all is not what it seems with Sasha's new heart, as she uncovers the disturbing life and death of her mysterious donor. While the premise quickly garnered some intrigue, Chambers is badly let down by nonsensical plotting. While most viewers expected horror, the show frequently took turns into poorly paced drama, stripping itself of the fear factor it could have had. Devoid of suspense, the series dove head-on into ill-advised melodrama. With little suspense and a plot that failed to be the sum of its parts, Chambers' hype died a sudden death and the series was cancelled at one season. Despite the many frustrating creative flaws plaguing the show, the Sasha character was a compelling, sympathetic protagonist with a gripping situation. With better writing, this unlucky protagonist's journey could have made for thrilling TV. Number 9. Maria, South of Hell. At a glance, there was a lot to like about South of Hell. There's the cool title, the involvement of horror ace Jason Blum, and a charismatic leading turn from Mina Savari. The series follows Maria's dangerous life as a demon-slaying hero in South Carolina, where she works with her brother David and struggles with the predatory demon that lives within her. In order to appease the demon residing within her body, Maria must allow it to live off the dark, demonic power she exercises from those in need. As a result, her heroic demon-hunting ways are perpetually tainted by the darkness within her, potentially making for an interesting study in duality and secrecy. Despite the intriguing premise and setup, South of Hell completely fails to reach its potential. The series is badly marred by a low budget and poor scripting that makes a lot of it look painfully Bush League. The result is a series that completely fails to flesh out its sinister world and colourful cast. Unsurprisingly, South of Hell did not last long, ultimately only staying on screens for a mere 8 episodes before its cancellation. Number 8. Freddy Krueger, Freddy's Nightmares. Original A Nightmare on Elm Street maestro Wes Craven helped to oversee Freddy Krueger's arrival on the small screen. Where the original film had told a compelling tale establishing solid lore in the town of Springwood, Freddy's Nightmares sees the razor-handed villain getting up to all manner of random hijinks. Robert Englund continued the beloved horror villain role here, essentially hosting the show as viewers follow him on his bloodthirsty escapades. While the classically trained actor brings his usual wit and gross-out charisma to the role, the character is badly let down by external factors. Where the films are routinely soaked in blood and gore, TV censorship standards at the time ensured the series failed to deliver the violent goods. Over the course of 2 humdrum seasons, Krueger enjoyed a variety of different takes from multiple writers and directors. While a show modelled on A Nightmare on Elm Street could have been thrilling, this series borders on giving the mythos the sitcom treatment. Unfortunately, even for the franchise's most die-hard fans, this oddly soft, formulaic series ultimately did a disservice to one of the most prolific slashers in cinema history. Number 7. Alcide Herveau, True Blood. True Blood's dangerous southern werewolf Alcide Herveau was a hit with fans thanks to his leadership qualities and Joe Manganiello's heartthrob status at the time. Introduced as a new love interest for Sookie Stackhouse, Herveau enjoyed a double life. By day, he worked with his father on a respectable construction company. By night, however, his wild side would often come loose as he served as a dangerous werewolf packmaster. Through Herveau, viewers got a much more in-depth look at lycanthrope within the True Blood universe. Played with a suitable level of no-nonsense masculinity, Herveau was one of the many casualties of True Blood's topsy-turvy mess of a final season. The werewolf's conclusion sees him get shot dead by a pack of mortals, essentially serving just to get Herveau out of the way quickly to close out Sookie Stackhouse's story on a bizarre, happily married note. Even Manganiello himself has expressed disdain for how his character was written out so close to the end of the show. It completely ruined his arc and impact on the series, making him an expendable love interest with little to no closure. Number 6. Christine Price, Under the Dome. This sinister, secretive counselor wound up causing a lot of trouble during the 3rd season of Under the Dome. Based on the Stephen King novel and sharing an eerie similarity to The Simpsons movie, the series follows the long-suffering town of Chester's Mill, which has been cut off from the rest of the world courtesy of an enormous dome. While the series kicked off with solid ratings and respectable reviews, its general dwindling focus and lack of narrative direction led to it coming undone. Drifting away from the source material, the show went in a variety of half-hearted directions that failed to land with critics and audiences. The mysterious Price is played with suitable intensity by CSI's Marge Helgenberger, bringing complexity to the troubled, secretive origins of the role. Helgenberger is let down by the show's meandering pacing. Sent in to locate the egg, Price winds up causing death and destruction in her doomed bid to get her hands on the ever-sought-after egg. Ultimately, Christine Price's intriguing narrative being let down by rushed writing was yet another example of how badly Under the Dome fell off. Number 5. Damien Thorne, Damien. Richard Donner's classic satanic panic horror flick was briefly purged of its sequels several decades later. In 2015, a TV series following cinema's most famous Antichrist debuted, kicking the additional Omen films from back in the day to the curb in favor of a new continuity. The series follows a fully grown Damien Thorne navigating his way through life. Instead of fulfilling his destiny as the harbinger of the apocalypse, Thorne has forgotten his early years and is living obliviously as a war photographer. This reveal of a humanized, forgetful son of Satan does not last long, as the series revolves around him slowly realizing his grim purpose in life. While the concept of a decent, normal Damien Thorne having to be reawakened to the truth of his situation was intriguing, the series failed to effectively utilize it. Clunky plotting, including repetitive exposition and an over-reliance on using footage from the classic original, derail the show's pace. The original played up the naturally evil state of the main character, suggesting his satanic origins were coming to govern his personality. Here, he's reduced to a relatively ordinary man, largely stripping him of his fear factor in the process. Sadly, Damien's cancellation came as little surprise, as the series' dreary pace and style failed to capture the occult chills of the original film. Number 4. Freddy Costa, Supernatural Bloodlines. Blink and you'll miss it. This crack at a Supernatural spin-off came and went at just the pilot stage. The series was set to focus on several monstrous family lines in Chicago. Viewers follow cop-turned-monster hunter Ennis Ross, who steps into the world of battling beasts following the grim death of his fiancée. Ross is trained in the grim dangers of supernatural combat by veteran cop and mentor Freddy Costa. In Costa, viewers are given a compelling study in duality, as the grizzled law enforcer is also secretly working for one of the key monster families, setting up a dangerous conflict of interest from the get-go. Serving as a backdoor pilot during the 9th season of Supernatural, Bloodlines was met with a frosty reception by fans. To the surprise of no one, the lack of the Winchester brothers drew the ire of viewers. Beyond the beloved brothers' absence, the pilot's plodding pace and bloated world-building are poor. Despite the show's failure to take off, the Costa character's double life and general intensity had potential. A policeman in the pocket of the monsters had the opportunity to showcase corruption and double agency, making it a missed opportunity for the beloved demon-slaying franchise. Number 3. Elena Michaels, Bitten. Canadian werewolf series Bitten limped along on subpar ratings for 3 seasons, following Elena Michaels, a troubled lycan attempting to balance a perpetually dangerous double life. On one hand, she has a pleasant, relatively standard lifestyle to enjoy in Toronto with her boyfriend. On the other hand, however, she has a whole werewolf family to contend with in New York, including a previous lover responsible for her moonlight transformative situation in the first place. Michael's troubled, layered past and complicated high-tension situation in the present aid in making her a complex, layered lead protagonist. Portrayed with charisma and conviction by Laura Vandervoort, Elena's troublesome situation carries the show's entertainment value. Regardless, the series overall does very little to stand out from the sea of vampire and werewolf shows and films of its time. Lazy and oddly low-key despite its fantastical premise, the show rarely manages to make the most out of Michael's potentially compelling dynamic. Despite a loyal cult following, Bitten failed to net a major audience, ultimately costing it its slot on the small screen after 3 seasons. Number 2. Olivia Godfrey, Hemlock Grove. This star-studded adaptation of Brian McGreevy's horror novel seemed destined to be hit or miss the moment Eli Roth became attached. The mastermind behind popular slasher flick Thanksgiving is also responsible for the turbo-flop adaptation of Borderlands, making his efforts this decade wholly unpredictable. Here, unfortunately, this potentially thrilling series stumbles into miss territory. Despite the numerous disses that have been levied against the series, one bright spot was Famke Janssen's leading turn as Olivia Godfrey. Set in the sinister, secretive Godfrey Institute for Biomedical Technologies and Hemlock Acres Hospital, the series follows Janssen's menacing institute leader. Janssen captures the mysterious charisma of her character perfectly, maintaining audience curiosity in her motivations throughout. Despite the underlying depth on offer with Godfrey, the show overall is badly let down by both convoluted storytelling and a litany of underdeveloped story arcs. Criticized for its grim content, messy storytelling, and scatterbrained pacing, the series was considered a major disappointment for Netflix. Suitably gross and shock value heavy for an Eli Roth project, the series ultimately let down many of its more appealing qualities due to its lazy approach to adapting the source material. The show's creative flaws ultimately contributed to its cancellation after just 2 seasons. Number 1. Charlie Manx, Nosferatu. This disappointing adaptation of Joe Hill's vampire novel showcases an on-point Zachary Quinto. The former Siler displays his knack for psychopathic antagonists as the bloodthirsty Charlie Manx. Despite the decrepit appearance, Manx is immortal, feeding off children to maintain his strength. For the hapless victims of this demonic menace, the torment does not stop at the blood drinking. Post-mortem, the victims are trapped in the perpetually creepy Christmas Land, a wintry dimension hidden within Manx's imagination. For Quinto, this hideous monster leaves him plenty of room to display his more fearsome side as a performer. From the off-putting makeup to Quinto's voice and suitably creepy physicality, Manx is an effective, disquieting villain. While the title, of course, is in reference to horror classic Nosferatu, this decrepit blood drinker is a highly original take on the vampire mythos, with little in common with the traditional Count Orlok character. Despite the quality of the character, the show overall fails to capture the grim spirit of Joe Hill's novel. With an awkward pace to stretch out the novel's plot, as well as a frustrating lack of tension for such an unsettling premise, it's hardly surprising this hit-and-miss effort was cancelled after 2 seasons.